Welcome to my first CoD Radiant tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to be talking about terrain patches and alpha blending. What you can see right now is a little example map of pretty much what we're going to be doing today. We're not going to be talking about the skybox or these trees, but as you can see there is a fade between the grass, the dry dirt, and into this kind of, burnt up dirt and stuff. And there's also a ditch in it. It's kind of messy. This is a quick thing that I made up, but of course you can neaten that up in your own time. And this basically, once the tutorial's over, you should be able to make this. So let's jump right into it. What you want to do first of all is just make a simple brush. I might as well put that in the center, and this is just going to be where your terrain patch will appear. We're not done yet. I'm gonna cork that if I can find the texture. There we are. It's always a good habit to get into. It will save you time when you're compiling your map and stuff. The next thing you want to do is select it. Make sure your 2D view is from the top, and then you want to go patch, simple terrain patch. You don't have to worry about this just yet. I'd just leave it at 2x2 if I were you. And there you are. You've created your very first terrain patch. Now, it doesn't look very exciting at the moment because we're just starting. If you want, you can use this to make decals and stuff, but it'll be easier if you use the faces to terrain. But once again, that's for another tutorial. So what we're going to want to do now is press V. This will bring up the vertices. If you haven't worked it out, we're just going to make a simple ground, like a plane, as in dirt and stuff. And then you want to select two of the vertices. It's got to be like this, or like this. You can't select this one and this one. That's not going to do much. To select them, you hold Control and then left click and then drag over one of the vertices, like that. And actually you don't need to hold Control, I was wrong. But if you want to select this one and then this one, you're going to have to hold Control, because if you just select them like that, it's going to deselect that one. So, or you could just not hold Control and select both of them. Anyway, now if we want to make these vertices, we're going to kind of split them, add another one through the center. We're going to go Control Shift A. See what it's done? It's just added another one in the center. Before, if we wanted to edit these side ones, you can edit them, drag them around by holding Alt and left click, like that. This can make like a roof, although roofs would be just fine with brushes. As you can see, it doesn't do much with the 2x2 plane. See, you can only edit it in so many ways. It's got like a dip in the center because that's just how science works. Okay. But once we add another one, Control Shift A, you can do this as many times as you want. Just make sure the two that you've selected, in between that, I'll add another one. So I'll just select two, probably. And now, it's very messy, and it's terrible, and you shouldn't do this. But now, what you've done is you made it so you can edit any of these. We'll go into how to edit them in high detail in a second. But ta-da! You've made this thing. I have no clue what this is, but I'll give you a clue. Don't do it. Okay, so we're gonna get rid of all these. Control Z if you haven't worked it out. And we're just gonna make it an even amount so that it just makes more sense. So we'll add maybe another one there, another one there, a couple here. Control Shift A once again if you forgot it. And then some along this side, same amount probably. Squares are better. So that's all good now. You've created your first plane. If you've got one too many, what you can do is select two and then Control Shift Q. That's actually going to take up a whole row of them. And then Z, oops, too many Z's. You can also do it the other way. Is that the way I did it? Yeah, that's going to take away this. Take away like this. You can do that. Control Shift Q, and that'll take away the row. It comes in very handy. You can do it anywhere, and it'll just take away the row you've got selected, as you can see. So now, once we've got this plane, that's I guess it's a high enough amount of vertices. If you want it to look detailed, you can of course have a lot less. If it's going to be something out of the map, you won't need to worry about that. But now, if we want to make this look a little more realistic, first of all I'm going to grab a texture from the ground. Let me just find a good looking one. Dry dirt, that'll be fine. Make that natural. That'll be fine for our uses. Okay, so what you want to do to edit this, to make it look all bumpy and earthy, you could select one of these vertices, move it up, maybe select another one, move it down, and congratulations, that looks terrible. Obviously that can be used, but if you want to make it look like ground, it's going to take a lot of time and the results aren't going to look very good. So what you can do is press Y. This will bring up the advanced patch editing options, and if you haven't done this before, I look a bit scary. These sliders at the top, I'll explain them going down. This changes the inner radius. You can't see it at the moment, but basically what happens is it makes a circle, and the inner radius, everything inside that is moved, and then in the outer radius, everything in between the inner radius and the outer radius is like a fade. I think that's how it works. So you can adjust this how you like. If you want it to be, you know, very faded, you can make the inner radius small and the outer radius very big. Or if you want the fall off to be minimum, you can make them the same size. I don't know what happens if you make the outer radius smaller than the inner one. I'm guessing a black hole. So I'll just put them like that. Amplitude, as you can probably guess, is how much it's affected. If it's really small, it's not going to do much. If it's really big, it's just going to make mountains. We'll keep that around 1. And paint height, flatten, smooth, noise, grab value, drag up, down, disabled. All you really want to be using is paint height, flatten, and smooth. If you want to, these are pretty self-explanatory. See, look, now we've got a little circle I was talking about. You can make that smaller. There's the inner radius. Ta-da. Very amazing. Paint height, what's that gonna, gosh, can't talk. That will make it, that's just, you know, the basic one. If you hold Alt and left click, ta-da, you gotta drag it around a bit before it starts doing anything. See, that's what happens when your amplitude is too high. If you turn that down, you can see it makes very more detailed and precise things. And if we put it on flatten, as you can imagine, that's going to try and even everything out. Eventually, it's all going to like pick an average, and it's all going to flatten to that point. So you can see it's all trying to just become flat, of course. The smooth, it's similar to the flatten, except it everything inside it picks the average and tries to make that where it's going. So if I go like this, I'm gonna up that a bit. If I go like this, everything that is red, all the little vertices, you see the orange ones, that's just like the fall off. If I pick smooth, that's going to make them all smooth to that point. See, it's not flat. Well, I guess that is flat, but I mean, it's not flat compared to the whole thing, like what flatten would do. It just smooths it. It's basically like flatten, except it's for the vertices you've got selected. Noise, I know I said you wouldn't really use this, but that's just going to make everything kind of random. I barely use that, but I guess it's not too bad. If you bump that up, I can imagine it's going to do pretty crazy things. Okay, don't do that. Enough. I'm going to flatten this out. Might as well hold Alt. Goody goody. Drag up, down, grab value. Don't worry about them. Disabled. You can guess. Okay. I don't worry about this. Allow soft selection or unselected patches. I'm not even sure what that does. I guess what that would do. Hold on a second. Let me just do some experimenting. So if I duplicate this, I have this one selected. I'm guessing what it does is affects the one next to it. Hold on a second. Yeah, okay, so I guess that means it doesn't need to be selected. See, if I uncheck it, it doesn't do anything. Okay, so what that does is it affects the patches you don't even have selected. That might come in handy. Let me get rid of that anyway. Don't need that second one. Okay. Going down, only perform soft selection while this dialog is open. I guess that's if you close it by pressing Y again. It's not going to do anything. So height, as you've probably guessed. Hold on a sec, I need to select this. By the way, when you're editing this and you have V, so it shows the vertices, it doesn't do anything. So you've got to make sure you haven't pressed V. Okay, height. That does what we were just observing. I change the height. RGB. God knows. Red, green, alpha, blue alpha. Yep, I don't even know. Alpha actually does come in handy though. Let me show you an example. Say we wanted to make like a path. Instead of doing that by using two like completely different brushes, we could have it on the same height. Let me just do a little something. Okay, I'll up that a bit. Too much, of course. Classic this thing. Let's just make that a little bumpy, and what we'll do is we'll copy this whole thing, that space, and then we'll put it exactly over where it already was, and then we will select a new texture. Just ground again, and you got to make sure this new texture, if it's going to be layered over the top, in the title you'll see Mac in Terrain Dirt Packed, but you got to select the one that says Mac in Terrain Dirt Packed Blend. That's a terrible texture, so I'm probably not going to use that. I'll use this. I think that says blend. It's hard to see because it's overlapping, but because it's overlapping again, I think it will work because I'm pretty sure it's blend. What you want to do, if you want to change the alpha values, is select alpha and put it on flatten. And now, great example, great, I know. Hold on a second. You gotta make sure it says blend. I guess that didn't. So, I don't know. Oh, it says the title down the bottom here. Okay, that's just wet. That's no scorch, I think. Right. So none of them say blend. Now that does say blend. So we'll go back to. I think it's kind of frozen. Okay, so you can already see what's happened. It's when I've got flatten and alpha selected, and I hold Alt and left click, it slowly makes it fade away. I'll put up the amplitude a bit, and you'll be able to see the results. Now all the texture we had, this wet dirt one, is gone. Now if we use right click, this will bring it back, and that's very fancy. So we can just make like a path going through the center here, and if I unselect everything, you can see what's happened. It turned out looking pretty good. I like that. What I probably didn't mention very well, I'm going to select both of these so that it doesn't mess up the alpha blend. If you go paint height and height, you can make it get really big with the left click and do the opposite with the right click. I guess if you use flatten and that. Okay, it does the same thing, right click and left click. Okay, that's good to know. So, I guess that's pretty much all you can do. All the things I've told you, it doesn't have to be used the exact way I've used it. I'm sure you can think of imaginative ways to use this, outside of the box. But I've pretty much showed you in this tutorial how to make it bumpy like dirt and how to make a path going through it. I think it turned out pretty good. So I'll end it here, and I might make a follow-up tutorial, part 2, if I missed something that I realized as soon as I stopped the recording. Okay, just before this video is over, I forgot to mention something that's kind of important. Say you have some kind of crater here, and instead of just doing it on one terrain, you've got them separated. There's 2 different parts here, but they just put together, and they don't quite line up. And instead of fiddling around with each vertice, trying to make them line up just like that, what you can do is something called welding. And what that is you select 2 of the vertices. You can also select 3, but that might end up in like stretched polygons, I guess. So you select 2, left click and drag, and then press W, and this will snap the 2 together. These are already lined up here, but I'll just do it anyway. W, that'll put them together, and this last bit, select both of them, put them together. And see, now I've got a crater in the center here. It still looks terrible, granted, but at least all the textures and stuff are lined up. You can see, I'll show you with 3 of them. I'll just select 3 here, press W, that'll snap them all at one point, and see how it stretches it? You don't want to do that if possible, so try and make them line up. See, I've got the same amount here as I do here, but if I had 1 extra or 2, it's going to be a little harder to line them up if you don't have them on the other side. So I guess you can just try and copy it or something, and I select the wrong one, as you can see, but you get the point. Try and make them the same on both sides so they're mirrored. So this might come in handy. Okay, I know I just told you about me forgetting something just then, but turns out I forgot something else, and this thing is kind of important. Okay, so say you're trying a road, for example. What will come in handy, this is kind of like the alpha blending that we did just a second ago, but this also comes in handy for more precise editing, I guess. I know I use that word way too many times, but these are terrible textures. Anyway, what you can do is press G. This will bring up the G vertex color / alpha editing, as it says there. And what you can do is select single vertices and make sure you click alpha here so it knows what it's doing. You can also click color, and this will manipulate the color with these sliders, but it's actually kind of cool, but don't worry about that at the moment. Obviously you can do that if your map calls for it. It's probably going to look pretty bad. Sorry. Okay, so you can change the alpha of it. I don't know why the color's still there. Can I get rid of that? Okay, I guess the color's staying there. Sorry about that. Make sure you select the blend texture once again. You can select vertices. Here, I'll select the center ones for this road, so you can kind of get an idea. Just left click and drag and control to select multiple ones. Make sure you have alpha selected. That's kind of like brightness, and you can move down this value meter. If you can't see anything, make sure real time is selected, and see what happens. You see, and then click apply. Just press G again to close it, and escape to deselect the things, and you can get this kind of nice look. I really like this, and excuse that red there. That was a mishap on my part. I'm sure there's a way to change that, but that's not what this part is about. So that is just something that I've forgotten in the video, and it comes in pretty handy for stuff just like this. Of course you can do this with the advanced patch editing options, but that won't be quite as precise as this. So that was this part. Okay, thanks for watching this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.